Oh, 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 oh. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, name is the upper echelon. She a debater, baby, baby. She can give it to you straight, no chaser. She got the smarts. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence, baby. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. Stupid can't play with smart. She got the smart. She got the smart. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. 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 Oh, 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 oh. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, name is the upper echelon. She a debater, baby, baby. She can give it to you straight, no chaser. She got the smarts. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence, baby. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. Stupid can't play with smart. She got the smart. She got the smart. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. 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 Oh, 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 oh. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, I got a lady. I got a lady. Hey, name is the upper echelon. She a debater, baby, baby. She can give it to you straight, no chaser. She got the smarts. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence, baby. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. Stupid can't play with smart. She got the smart. She got the smart. She got the heart. She got the heart. She got the confidence. Confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. 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 Stupid can't play with smart.
Yes, 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 indeed, indeed, indeed. Stupid can't play with smart. Let's get into it. As you guys know, I was at the courthouse today and I saw what happened, and we are going to talk about the real reasons why Miss Holly Johnson was not released. No speculation, nothing fake, and nothing is alleged. Okay, everything is what it is. Okay, so let's get into it. Shout out to everybody in the room. It's too many of you guys for me to be able to shout out everybody individually. However, I thank you all for being here and listening to this commentary, because you guys are going to get an inside scoop through me, how things went today in court, what was said by the judge, what was said by Ari Williams, what was said by the prosecution or the state. And we're going to get into it, and we're going to talk about the actual reasons, and then other small details too, the actual reasons why Miss Holly Johnson's release was denied real bad. Not a little bit, but real bad. Her release was denied real bad. When I tell you that court hearing was so entertaining, the crowd was chuckling. Let's get into it. First of all, I want to say shout out to everybody in the room. If you would like to support me, you guys, monetarily, you already know how to do it. Shout out to everybody that has already gotten me to 9 super chats or super stickers. I've only had a goal of 10, so shout out to y'all because I already met my goal pretty much. Thank you, Rita Tab, for the membership. I appreciate you. Welcome. Shout out to Common Collect for that super chat. Thank you, Lakeith Myers, for that super chat. Thank you, Caprice, for the super chat. Lakeisha, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate you. Tinkers, thank you for that super chat. Maxine, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Thank you again, Lakeith Myers. Thank you, Raquel22. Thank you, Honey Williams, for that. Thank you for your 7-month membership, Cheryl Wagner. Raquel, thank you for your 8-month membership. So let's get into it, y'all. Let me get my notes. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna start from the very beginning, from the moment that I got there until it ended. Okay, so I arrived very early at the courthouse because, as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, but there's never any parking. So court was scheduled to begin at 9:30, but I got to the courthouse around 8:20. Got myself checked in, went up to the courtroom. Court was in room 308. I was out there with a couple of it was only 2 people when I arrived. Okay, Cold Peace TV, Cold Peace was there. That's a content creator who also supports Romika Meeks. Thank you, Ronithia, for that super sticker. Thank you, Diamond, for that super chat. Cold Peace TV was there. We sat out and we were waiting for other people to arrive. TLC, another content creator that's on Facebook, was also there. Security, or the security guard, actually came out to let us know first off rip that we would be waiting for a while because the judge did have other to take care of. So we were there early, almost at 8:30, 8:20. Thank you, LOL. So we finally were let into the courtroom. I want to say probably like around 9:25. By that time, a lot more people had already arrived to the courtroom. Okay, so we sat in the courtroom. More people were still coming. Carlos did eventually come as well, and I think he had somebody with him. He sat on the same side as Holly's family. Okay, so he sat with Holly's family. The courtroom was divided, of course. One side was Romika's family and supporters, and the other side was Holly's family and supporters. Romika obviously had a lot more supporters, so Romika supporters also had to use the front row of Holly's side. So they occupied part of the front row up there on Holly's side, and then we had our own separate side. Okay, the proceedings eventually began. They brought Holly out around 9:50 a.m. Is when the judge called her. Once again, I don't know what her facial expressions were because she had a mask on, as she normally does. She went and she sat down. The judge asked Ari, would she like to do the proceedings from her desk, or would she like to do the proceedings standing up at the bench? And she said that she would like to do the proceedings sitting down at the desk because she had a laptop and she needed to be able to navigate her laptop as she was arguing her motion. Okay, so but before we got into the motion for release, the first thing that was handled was the motion to seal documents. That was denied. Now, Ari stated in her motion to seal the documentation that this case has become very, very public. She went on to state that she believes, and just to let you guys know, if you guys ever want to verify what any content creator comes on social media and says happened in court, you can always request the transcripts. Of course, you got to pay for them, but you can always request the transcripts just so that you can check or double check to see if the information that you were given is accurate and true. Thank you, Nana Forever, for that super sticker. I appreciate you, hon. Thank you, Princess Period. So I just want to throw that out there. If there's ever a time that you want to verify what really happened in court after you listen to a content creator, you can always request the transcripts, and that way you know for sure for yourself. Okay, so the reason why the motion was actually requested by Ari is because she said that the case had become so public, and she also made an accusation saying that she believes that counsel from the state or from the courts are leaking information to the media. She did not necessarily say social media, but she said that she believes that information is being leaked from the courts or from the opposing counsel to the media. Now that was denied because after she made her argument, the state then made their argument. The state said basically in the state of Illinois in Cook County, especially in a first degree unaliving trial, the citizens of the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois have a right to, let me look at my notes really quick because I want to make sure that they have a right to see what is going on in the courtroom. The state argued all cases are public in Illinois, especially first degree unaliving. The judge also agreed to that. And sorry, I'm not going to be able to really read comments until later because I don't want to, lose my place or whatever. So the judge actually agreed to that by saying that the court documentation information, even the courtroom, and even by offering Zoom and everything like that, is public because they don't want to keep the public in the dark about a situation like this. He stressed the importance of transparency, honesty, and how that aligns with a healthy, and these are his words, healthy to the court system. So that was not granted. Also, let me say this. The state made a point after Ari argued her point about sealing the documentation. And after she made her argument about how she believes that certain information is being leaked from the courts to the media, the state then argued by saying that Ari is actually the one who compromised certain information by placing unredacted names and other information into her motion. So basically saying how ironic is it? Yes, drop those pink hearts. How ironic is it that you're filing for motion? And it is silly. When you think about it, it is really silly. How ironic is it that you are filing a motion to seal documents when you are the one that placed information in the documents that should have never been placed there? So he did make that point, and I was so glad that he made that point. And after the state made that point, again, the judge agreed. The judge said that he's not going to seal the records. Not only is he not going to seal the records, but he also stated that moving forward in any filing, any motions or anything that is subject to the public, names should be redacted. He stated we don't need first and last names. We don't need birthdays. We don't need any identifying information that could put these people at risk of being harassed or anything else. As a matter of fact, the judge was very, very serious about the anonymity of the witnesses because he actually, now I'm gonna jump forward just a little bit because Ari wanted to display video to the court, And he said that was fine. So he had her to go grab a television. Now, the television that she went to go get for her presentation was a double-sided television. So one side was facing him, and on the back of the television was actually another screen for the crowd or for the observers. I'm trying to go down. Hold on. And so he initially was going to allow the observers, the people there, the family and everything else. He said, first, before you play anything, is there anything graphic, any blood, any videos or pictures of the victim laying on the ground, anything like that? If so, he didn't want it played. Then moving forward, he saw some of the shots of what the exhibits that she wanted to display, and he noticed that on the exhibits it said victim. He noticed that on the still shot of one of the pieces, one of the evident pieces of exhibits, it said it was the victim talking in the interrogation room. Now, those things he did not want for the observers to see, because again, you're again, Ari, you cannot show the public the victim's photos, pictures. We don't want people to know what what the witnesses, look like, because it puts them at risk. The courts take that very, very seriously. So when he realized that she was actually getting ready to display the actual witnesses with us in the courtroom, he asked her to please disconnect the back screen of the television and only have the front screen showing so that we couldn't see who the witnesses were. So I commend the judge for doing that. I found that to be very responsible, because you know, when you're covering a case, especially in a position like his, you do have to be neutral. You have to be fair to all parties. Hold on one second, you guys. Hold on. I'm gonna have to put on. Okay, so you have to be fair to all parties, and he's very, very fair as far as keeping the witnesses safe. Why? Because the witnesses did not ask to see what they saw. They did not ask to be put in the position that they were put in. Obviously, as witnesses, and this is a social media case, they're under great scrutiny from the public, from content creators, bloggers, or whoever else that are trying to discredit these witnesses. So he led by example by saying, no, we're not going to show that to the audience. Just show it to me. So he stood on being very responsible in that sense. Okay, so let me get back to what I was saying. So that is how the judge felt. That motion was denied as far as the motion to seal documents. And again, he talked about the courts being transparent and honest with the public, because the public has a right to know who the murderers are, or who the assumed murderers are in our communities, and we do. And so he didn't say that. I added that part on. but we do. We have a right to see what is going on. Okay, and the court has the courts have a duty to be transparent with the community. Okay. Now let's move on to the motion for release. Okay, so I already kind of jumped forward to that, but so when Ari was the first to argue her point for the motion to release, the state went after. So Ari went first. Again, Ari pulled out the TV. She only had the front part of the television showing, the back part was off so that we couldn't see the videos of the witnesses. The first thing that the judge did was, when Ari started to argue her point, she first started to show video of witness number 3. And she began to try to discredit witness number 3 because of the location. And when I tell you guys, again, please do your due diligence if you really want to know, and go look up the transcripts. Okay, I cannot make this shit up. Okay, go look up the transcripts and see for yourself once they are available. The judge, Ari said that witness number 3 didn't see anything. This is what she said on the record. Okay, and we're going to get into what the judge said in response. But on the record, Ari said, though, this witness number 3 saw nothing. She didn't see anything. She's very animated, y'all. Had to be there. She is very animated. If anybody in my chat was in court, vouch for me. The girl is animated. I'm talking. I don't know if she thinks she's Johnny Cochran or who she thinks she was today, but I don't know if she's always like that, but she was very animated. The witness saw nothing. And so then the judge comes back and he asks about, when she says she saw nothing, she's speaking of the fact that when she was on the CTA bus, she looked out of the window at a certain point on the CTA bus. When she looked out of the window, Ari said she had no reaction. She then said she got off of the bus with her baby. When she got off of the bus, she walked in a different direction than the altercation, according to Ari. She then went on to say that at a certain point during the altercation with the parties, Carlos, Romika, and Holly, that witness number 3 was actually standing in a location where it would be impossible for her to hear due to her headphones, and it would be impossible for her to see. Now, they were going back and forth. Look, TLC said very animated. She is really animated. I was just like, what the heck? So anyway, but so she showed, it became like this big thing today in court, right? Where the judge, she's showing the judge where the witness number 3 is standing. And the judge is looking at where she's standing. She's saying that from where she's standing, there's no possible way that she could have seen what happened because allegedly, according to Ari, she was behind some building. The judge was looking at the video. The state's attorney also walked up to the bench because the judge was allowing the state's attorney to also view the video. So they're looking at it, and I guess they must have pressed pause. I don't know because I couldn't see it, but they were looking, and she was trying to explain why she's saying that the victim could not, or not the victim, I'm sorry, the witness number 3 could not see the altercation. The judge is saying, well, from what I'm looking at, it looks like she could see the altercation. And he's like, well, it doesn't look like her view would be obstructed by anything here. He started getting into directions. He said, well, if she's facing this way, if she looks west, I don't see why she wouldn't have been able to see it. So Ari was becoming very frustrated, and she was like, but she couldn't see. She wouldn't be able to, like, she was like getting flustered, okay? Because the judge was really like tearing down everything that she was saying in a very respectful way, of course. But he was saying, hey, like, that's not an absolute because, oh, and what another thing that he kept on saying was every time she made a point, he would say, in your opinion. She would say something and he would say, that's what you think. And then she'd be like, but she was like, he said, yes, I understand, in your opinion. In other words, you're giving what you believe. What you're stating is not an absolute fact. Okay, and Ari continued. Okay, so we're still talking about that, but I do want to say that Ari continued to talk about the placement of the witness, where she was, when she was, where she says she was, child, the times that she was, where she said she was. There was issues with the timestamps, okay? So according to the judge, he was already aware that there was issues with the timestamps. Now you're saying that witness number 3 was here at this time or that time, but the timestamps are incorrect. Now the timestamps that he's talking about is the timestamp at Shark's Chicken. It's a restaurant right there, Shark's Chicken. Now, according to Ari, Shark's Chicken is 25 minutes ahead. So the time is not correct on the camera footage. The timestamp was incorrect. So remember what I told y'all on the previous live stream that I did. I told y'all that what they're going to do, if they can't look at any other timestamp or any other video to be verified, what are they going to do? They're going to rely on the times in which 911 was called. And that's exactly what they did. They notated what times, let me see. They notated what times witness number 3 called 911. Also, they took into consideration what witness number 3 reported to 911, when she contacted 911. At 9:02 a.m., the witness called 911 identifying a physical altercation between Carlos and Romika. At 9:04 a.m. or 9:05 a.m., I could be wrong. Correct me, Cold Piece, if I'm wrong. At 9:04 or 9:05 is when the shooting occurred, meaning that the witness was close enough to see the altercation between Carlos and Romika at 9:02 a.m. and call the police, and it's on record that she called the police at 9:02 a.m. and make the same report that several other people had made around that same time, meaning that is a verification that the witness was there. Remember, prior, this Ari stated on record, the witness saw nothing. Remember, she said that. Judge comes back and says, witness calls 911 and reports witness number one, who is Carlos, and the defendant, not the defendant, and the victim fighting at 9:02 a.m. How did the witness see nothing if the call that she made identifying a fight between witness number one and the victim at 9:02 a.m. is matching the same calls and accounts as other witnesses? Meaning she was there to see something. Even Ari had to agree. She said, I want to correct something. She did. I can say that she did. This is what Ari does. She then says, I can't. Okay, so she saw that part. So she then agreed that the witness number three did see that part. So she had to come back and change it, because you see, you can't argue with the 911 phone call. That's on record that the witness was there and she saw it. You can't say that the witness was here at this time and she couldn't have seen what happened because she was on the bus or she was at the green line, because the video that you're relying on, the timestamps are screwed up. You don't know when she was at the green line. You don't know when she was on the bus. You don't know what time she was looking. You don't know. You don't know where she was walking to, but that Sharks the timestamp the Sharks had provided is wrong. So all of this time they were relying on discrediting the witness with video evidence from Sharks restaurant, but Sharks timestamps are incorrect. So that means that you don't know what time the victim was on scene. You don't know what time the victim was at the green line. You don't know what time the victim was at the shooting. It would be impossible for the witness to be close enough, and this is just me elaborating on what was said. It would not be possible for the witness to call 911 at 9:02 to give an account of what she saw. And then the shooting happens 2 minutes later and she doesn't see that. How fast could she leave the scene to run from the scene, making a 911 phone call to run all the way down to the green line to be caught on Shark's camera? Not possible. She was there. She saw it. Also, Ari then argues the headphones. Ari, Cold Piece, go ahead. Who is it? Somebody said, and you don't know either. Why y'all putting her name in the chat? She not over here, child. But Ari started to argue the headphones, and this is where it starts to get interesting. Okay, Ari starts to argue the headphones. She says there's no way that she could have heard anything, and then she starts getting into she wasn't there, but we already, have already established the timestamps were screwed up. Okay, she starts to argue that she couldn't have heard it. She couldn't have heard anything because she had on very thick noise cancellation headphones, and it's not possible that she could have heard anything. The judge argues, are you saying that that's what you believe? He says, is that what you think? And so she says, yes, judge, because it only makes sense. Her headphones were so thick, they were so big, they were over her ears at the time. And so she's really trying to harp on that. But the judge is saying, well, that's what you think. That's what you believe. Is that what you've gathered? But that's not a fact. That's what you think. And see, on social media, I told y'all, social media and the courtrooms are two different ball games. People can go on social media, go live all day, and try to make headphones the end all be all of the case. But the reality of it is that Ari didn't have those headphones on. Ari doesn't own those headphones. Ari doesn't know if those headphones may be broken. She doesn't know if the headphones may work in one ear and not in the other ear. She doesn't know if the headphones were turned off at the time. She doesn't know if the headphones are utilized for phone calls and not music. She doesn't know. So you can't use that as a concrete piece of evidence to say she didn't hear, because you don't know that she didn't hear. You don't know that. Now, the state then, let me tell y'all, the state, you can tell they're more seasoned because they were a lot more calm. They weren't all animated. They were very, I'm gonna say this, they were more calm, and you could tell they were confident in their stance. They didn't have to do all the dramatics. The state was just like, let me just say this. The state argued after Ari argued, but just for the purposes of, because I don't want you guys to forget, I'm going to mingle them together. Instead of waiting to tell you what the state said all the way at the end, I'm going to tell you what the state said to her arguments as I go down Ari's arguments. But in reality, the way that it worked is that Ari did her argument, then the state did their argument. But I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it this way. So what the state said to that argument is, we basically have proof that she could hear just fine with those headphones on. Remember, initially, Ari said that she had video of the witness having to take her headphones off when she was talking to the police. That's what it said in her motion, and then she had to slide them around her neck to hear. The state actually has evidence that the witness number 3 had a full-blown conversation with the police with the headphones on. Boom. Argument done. Argument dead. The state argued that actually she had the headphones on. There's video footage, there's body cam footage of her talking to these same officers at one point with the headphones on and answering questions just fine and hearing them just fine. So Ari's arguing that the headphones are noise cancellation headphones, and there's no way that she could hear anything. The state is saying, well, we have, proof here that she actually carried on a conversation with the headphones on at a certain point. So you can't use that as an argument. This is me talking now, in my opinion, because again, the judge did continue to say over and over again, more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, that's your opinion. That is what you think. That is what you believe. This is what the judge was saying. And he was right, because it's not a fact that that is not factual that she could not hear with the headphones on. It just isn't factual. It's just what you think she heard, what you think she could hear. That's not something that's going to get someone released from detention, my dear. Now, what was the next thing that Ari argued? Ooh, this is where it gets juicy, y'all. Which one came first? Hold on. Wait. Okay. Then Ari thought that she thought she had a game changer, y'all. So, next, after all that shit didn't work, okay, mind you, we're in the gallery, we are chuckling under our breath like this girl cannot be serious. I told y'all that the motion was bullshit from jump. I told y'all the motion was weak as fuck, and it is weak. Nothing she said was, if you're gonna file a motion for release, legally you have to have either a very damaging piece of evidence that totally flips the case on its ass, or you're going to have to show that there was a technicality made at the detention hearing, meaning that some sort of law, some sort of policy was not followed at that time. If you can prove that a technicality, or if you can show new evidence, that is what will get someone released. Not saying that somebody has headphones on. That was the weakest shit I think I've ever I know Johnny Cochran is rolling around in his damn grave. It ain't no way your ass came to this hearing making a big deal over some damn noise cancellation headphones. That shit might work on YouTube, but it's not gonna work in the court of law. Okay, the content creators can come on here and try to make a big ass deal over some headphones, but in the court of law, that shit just not gonna work. Okay, I said it wasn't gonna work, and it didn't work, and I knew it wasn't gonna work. Okay, I also put a video up. I screen recorded one of my live streams. I put a video up of where I said she would be charged with first-degree murder, and I was right. And now I'm saying she will be convicted of first-degree murder, and I'm gonna take a screen recording of this, and I'm gonna post that once she get convicted. Okay, so now after she got slammed on her ass about the headphones, and it's a couple of things I'm gonna add in towards later on, but after she got slammed on her behind about those headphones, she then moved on to her next piece of evidence, and I think she thought this was the slam dunk. She ended up playing a 911 phone call. Now, this is a piece of evidence that she brought in that she thought was going to get her girl released, okay? That 911 phone call is from an anonymous caller. According to Ari, she says that the call or the number came from some sort of text now number or something like that. She says she's going to attempt to find this witness, but she doesn't know who the witness is. Now, they played the 911 call in court. The 911 call is a woman. Yeah, I'll say that later. Is a woman describing the scene. We were allowed to hear the call. In the call, the woman was saying, in the call, the woman was saying, there's a fight. Two women are out here fighting right now. Then she goes on to say, there's a woman with red hair, and there's an aggressor. She said there's a woman with red hair and there's an aggressor. The 911 call operator cut her off. And then she said, there's the girl with the green, and she got a gun. That's what she said. Now, Ari stopped it there, and she said, see, look, she called the victim the aggressor. She called the victim the aggressor. Look, listen to it again, Judge. The judge said, I'm sorry, that's not what I heard. And that's not what any of us heard. What was played was a woman saying, hold on, y'all. Damn. Hold on. So where did I stop at, y'all? Oh, so he said that's not what I heard. I don't hear her saying. Oh, and she also said dark-skinned woman with red hair. Okay. Then she said this is the aggressor. This is the aggressor. Then the operator cut her off, and then she said the woman with the green and a gun. So the judge is saying in that audio, the woman is not saying that the victim is the aggressor. He then says the way that the call is set up and the way that the operator cuts the caller off, you can't tell if she's saying that the victim is the aggressor or if Holly is the aggressor. You can't tell who is the aggressor the way that she said that. And so he basically dismissed that phone call. I also want to throw in there that Ari attempted to accuse the state of implying that Carlos and Holly were working together on the crime scene the day that Romika was unalive. The judge said that he read the transcripts. He said he read the previous detention orders and the documentation, and he stated that he doesn't see anywhere in that documentation where it states that where it says that the state is accusing Carlos and Holly of working together or being in cahoots. So she kind of jumped to that conclusion on her own, and the judge is not exactly sure why she's saying that. I think that Ari might be looking at too much social media. I've heard that on social media, but I have not read that in any court reports. So let's see. Ari started to say that the Holly should not be punished for exercising her Second Amendment right. The Second Amendment gives her client the right to bear arms. So basically, y'all, after the 911 phone call, the judge dismissed that shit. The judge threw to the side the situation about the camera and sharks and the headphones and where the woman was standing. We was laughing, y'all. It was sad. It was actually kind of sad to watch. I actually felt kind of sorry for Ari. I did, because she was flustered, honey. She thought she had it all together. You gotta stay out of these content creators' chats gassing you up, making you think some shit, because baby, I've never been in not one single day of law school, and I could have told you that she wasn't gonna be released off of that bullshit that you put together. It was because it wasn't strong enough. It wasn't strong enough. It wasn't strong enough for a judge to overrule or overturn his colleague's previous order. You want me to overturn my colleague's previous order with this bullshit? I don't know. We gonna get a little deeper into it. Now, she played that 911 phone call. Now, after that shit was dismissed, she then got into the TPO situation. She yells, the TPO was never served. The TPO was never served. And so, again, the state did argue after, Ari, but I'm just going to tell you what the state's response was to Ari and what Ari said. Ari said that her defendant is in fear of her life, or she was in fear for her life due to previous threats through her grandmother and other family members. She's pregnant. She tried to continue to play the pregnancy card. She's pregnant, and she was also pregnant at the time that she obtained the order of protection, and that she had every right to be afraid of the vicious threats, according to her, from Romika. The state then argued back by refuting that by saying the TPO actually was not served. Now, you know that this is something that we have all been going back and forth with on social media regarding this temporary restraining order or this order of protection, okay? Holly supporters have made it been very, very clear that they do believe that that this order of protection, somehow this piece of paper gives you the automatic right to shoot someone in the face. So we know that Holly supporters believe that legally they can go out, get a restraining order, and if they see somebody that looks like they may want to have combat with them, that they can go ahead and shoot them in the face. I don't know why they think that. I don't know where that's written in the law books. I've never seen that anywhere in any law code, that you can shoot an unarmed person more than once in self-defense because you have an order of protection. I don't know. I've never seen it, but that's what they think. Okay, that's what they think. Thank you, Nene. I appreciate that. So the state then says the order was never served, and then pulls out a document. He then walks up to the judge, gives the judge the document, and he also gives Ari the document. The document is a documentation showing that that the order was never served. Ari then wanted to argue that even though the order was not served, that the victim knew about the order of protection. The state argues actually the victim did not know about the order of protection being granted because the victim was not in court on the day that the order of protection was granted in July of 2025. in which it actually said on the documentation that he showed the judge and that he showed to Ari that on the day that the order was granted, it was a default order, meaning that the victim was not present in court. The victim was only aware that Holly was attempting to get an order of protection on her, but there is no documented knowledge showing that she knew that the order was granted, nor is there any documentation showing that she was served the order of protection. So not only was she not served the order of protection, but the state proved that she did not know that the order was ever granted. The state then also presented to the judge that the order of order of protection was still being served to Romeka, or they were attempting to serve Romeka after her demise. Okay, so after Romeka's untimely demise, the state was still trying to serve Romeka her order of protection, which is more proof that she was never served the order of protection. Okay, now I basically told you what the state said. Okay, so the state basically knocked down every single argument that Ari had. Okay, so every argument that Ari presented, the state basically demolished it. Okay, now I want to get into, I don't know if, drop a 1 in the chat if you guys remember me saying over and over and over again that there are more witnesses. If you guys listen to me frequently, I have stated over and over and over again that there are more witnesses. Have I not? Hold on one second, y'all. I have told you guys on many of occasions that there are more witnesses. Somebody, hold on, y'all. I got to respond to this real quick. Okay, I make that very clear every time I go live, and the reason that I was making that very clear is because that's common sense, y'all. Because if you look at how busy that intersection is, when you, not just the intersection, but when you look at how big the intersection is, this is during school hours. Hold on. This is during school hours, okay? Children, parents. There is a building that houses hundreds of elderly people. There is staff that works at that business. There's staff going to school for work. There's people getting off public transportation. There's coffee shops. There's residents there. It's a park right next to the school. It's too congested for only 4. Also, what Ari said is nobody saw the shooting. Nobody saw it. Nobody was there. Nobody saw it from beginning to end except for Romeka, Holly, and Carlos. This is what she says. Then boom, witness number 5 comes out the woodwork, like I said was going to happen. And there will be more witnesses. There will be more witnesses. But for today, the state not gonna show. Well, I'm not gonna say that. So the state presents witness number 5. Ari argues that she knew nothing about witness number 5, and she said, "How am I supposed to argue against something that I didn't know about?" The state then argues that Ari should have known about witness number 5 because witness number 5 was not placed in the proffer, but witness number 5 was placed in other documentation that was submitted to Ari. So Ari didn't do her due diligence. Ari should have known about witness number 5, but Ari didn't do her due diligence, which is why she didn't know about witness number 5. The state said that she should have known about it. Not my problem, Bookie, but be more thorough next time. Okay, so witness number 5 made a statement. In witness number 5 statement, the witness number 5 says that the defendant was the aggressor. Witness number 5 stated that the defendant stated several times during the verbal altercation between herself and between herself and the victim, that she had a CCL. She stated over and over again while in a verbal altercation between her and Holly that she had a CCL. The witness number 5 then stated that witness number 1, who is Carlos, grabbed the victim and put her in what they described as a bear hug. And after witness number 1 put her in a bear hug, she then went on to say that while the defendant was in the bear hug, the defendant approached the victim. Okay. Also went on to state that the victim retrieved her gun from the car and shot her from the sidewalk once she came out of the bear hug or chokehold or whatever you want to call it. She also went on to say that the victim was nowhere near Holly. Again, that the victim was nowhere near Holly. Okay. Another interesting thing that was said that I wrote down. After all this, you guys know what happened, right? So after all of this, we know that Holly Ash got transported back to Division 8 over there at Cook County Jail Women Division. Okay. So after all of that, it was denied. Listen, let me tell you how bad Ari's defense was. So bad. Cold piece, if you still in here, tell me I'm lying. Ari's defense was so bad that everybody was chuckling. People were laughing at her. I swear I put this on everything I love. People were laughing at Ari because she sounded so stupid. We were laughing. Normally people are nervous. The family going to be nervous. People like, oh, they might let her out. We knew, I'm going to say we because I can't speak for everybody else. I knew that she wouldn't be released within 3 minutes of Ari's argument. Within 3 minutes of Ari's argument, I knew that she wasn't going to get released. It was a joke. It was a big ass joke. One of the things that the state argued, which was very telling, I don't know why I didn't think of this. I guess that's why they went to school and they got their law degree and everything, because they're much more intelligent than I am. But they did say, not Ari, but the state said that they, reviewed the, viral video. And in the viral video that we all saw, that Holly was making a phone call on that video. The state made it a point to say that pretty much, it's noteworthy that Holly was able to make a phone call. Because if she was able to make a phone call after she murdered somebody, why wasn't she able to use that same telephone to call the police? The state also argued, why didn't Holly use that same phone that she used after she murdered Romeka to call the police while Romeka's back was being slammed into the car door? The state said, why didn't Holly use that same phone to call the police when Carlos was restraining her in the bear hug or the headlock or whatever it is you want to call it? When she was being restrained, why didn't Holly call the police? It's evident here that she has a cell phone. They did credit Carlos for calling the police after the incident to report the shooting. But Holly literally never called 911, not once. Now, what I do find interesting is that Ari put this motion in primarily to say that the witnesses were not credible. What the judge noted, or what he said, was that actually the witnesses are credible because the witnesses are making statements and are saying several things that match up with each other, even though they don't know each other. And even though they were there at different times, their statements match in the most important ways. Now, remember I told y'all yesterday, no court, anytime there is a murder trial and there's witnesses, nobody expects the witnesses to have it 100% right. Witnesses may not always have it 100% right, but if they have a majority of it right, then that's what matters. And if what they have right matches the other witnesses, that's what matters. Because it was also noted today in court that the witnesses don't know each other. I also want to make very clear, because I was sent a text message saying that people are saying that witness number 5 is the boyfriend. The boyfriend is not a witness at all. At all. He's not witness number 2. He's not witness number 3, obviously. He's not witness number 4. And he's not witness number 5. Because Ari tried that in court. She brought the boyfriend up. She said the boyfriend, he's not even a good witness because only thing he's doing is just agreeing with witness number 3. The judge then says, whoever said anything about a boyfriend, the judge was baffled. He said, who said anything about a boyfriend? Anybody? When did anybody say anything about a boyfriend being a witness? Nobody ever said, ever, not one time. And the state agreed, never said the boyfriend was a witness. So if you guys are hearing like a rumor, because I don't know where it came from, but I heard a rumor is going around saying witness number 5 is the boyfriend. Witness number 5 is not the boyfriend. That was actually established today in court because Ari tried to use that one. Okay, so witness number 5 is not the boyfriend. They also went over times. Let me see. They went over times. Ari also presented a video, of course, that we couldn't see. Only the judge could see it. But she presented a video of Romika walking to the school. And they shared those times, saying that Romika walked into the school building at 8:51. And then she left the school at 8:53. And got into her car, and I guess that's when she busted a U-turn. She says that, and this is how we know that the time stamps are all fucked up, okay? Because this is what Ari said, y'all. She says that Ari says that Romika walked into the school at 8:51, left the school at 8:53. She then says that Carlos pulled out of the alley from the mouth of the alley, meaning the opening of the alley at 8:56. How is that possible? How is it possible that he left at 8:56, but Romika left out of the school at 8:53? Unless she just sat there, I don't know. But or according to what she's saying, Romika busts a U-turn once they get there. None of the times are adding up. The judge acknowledged that the timestamps are screwed up. Okay. Another thing that I wrote down just as informational is that what they said was that the pod camera did not catch the shooting. They said that the pod camera actually, so basically a pod camera pans, if you guys know what that means. So it like goes back and forth. And I'm guessing that it also has motion off the sound maybe or something. Maybe it has that type of technology. Because what they said in court is that the pod camera did not move towards the crime scene until the shots started going off. So that means that the camera didn't actually catch the shooting. It moved towards where they were once the shots went off. The state argued that he said, as you know, Judge, in order for to be charged with first degree murder, a video does not have to exist. And that's true because several people have been charged and convicted of murder with no camera footage. There does not have to be camera footage. The judge also took note as to Ari kept on repeating that nobody saw the shooting. There is no video of the shooting. The judge did make mention of, no, there's no video of the shooting. However, we know that she shot her. I mean, she admitted that she shot her. It's in the proffer that she told police that she shot her. So why do we need to know? Why does that matter? That there's no video and no one saw a pew pew, according to her. That doesn't matter. She tried to discredit, I believe it was witness number 4, by saying that, and witness number 4 is a crossing guard. She said that witness number 4 did not see the actual shooting. So that means he's not credible. However, she then said that he was there for some of the altercation, but I guess he might have turned around to leave when the shooting occurred. He was asked, well, how do you know that Holly is the one that did the shooting? And so the crossing guard said, well, I mean, they were arguing. She had the gun in her hand when I turned around. So I'm assuming she the one that did it. I mean, and so the judge acknowledges common sense. Okay, let's not be ridiculous here. Everybody knows that Holly did the shooting. Holly admitted to doing the shooting. The man did not have to actually visually see her exactly when she did it to know that she did it. Okay, he saw the gun in her hand. She admitted it. What are we talking about here? Okay, that's how ridiculous her arguments were. I can't make this shit up. She really tried to argue nobody saw the shooting. Girl, shut the bleep. Girl, is you okay? Is you ill? We know that the girl did it. I did notice that Carlos fell asleep at a certain point. I mean, just to be petty, I guess I'll throw that in there. Carlos did fall asleep towards the end, which I don't really blame him. Everybody knew that motherfucker wasn't getting out. Ain't no need to stay up. I noticed that some of Holly family members started leaving. At a certain point, I saw a couple of guys walk out. I seen Carlos fall asleep. I mean, come on. We know the motherfucker ain't getting out. We ain't got to sit here and take notes and shit. Unless you a content creator, you ain't got to stay awake. Go ahead and take you a little nap. That girl ain't going no damn well. So he fell asleep. So we know that the next court date is scheduled for February 3rd, 2025. The judge did make a comment saying that, and he said it in a way to, you knew what he meant, but legally he couldn't say it. But he basically said, you guys do have a right to argue a release from detention every court date, meaning, and that's true. Every court date, they do have a right to, or her attorney does have a right to go ahead and argue that she should be released. But he also threw in there that obviously evidence has to be shown, or some sort of proof has to be shown if she is to be released. Something has to be significantly happening. But he did let them know that every court date, if she wants to, motion for release, that's her right. In other words, bitch, you ain't had shit today. Don't come in here with that bullshit no more. No, I'm adding that part on, y'all. I told y'all that damn girl wasn't. Hold on, let me Google something. I told you that damn girl wasn't getting out. Oh my goodness, y'all. You know what? Last night I was gonna go live, but I changed my mind because I said, what'd be funnier if I just don't say shit at all and just listen to these fools, these babbling idiots talking about. I mean, you just got to be a fool to think that this girl was going to be released. In what world do you live in where a person charged with first-degree murder with 6 added aggravated counts? I know Chicago ain't the best city, but do y'all think that's what y'all think about us? Y'all think that our judicial system is that bad that we just gonna let somebody out that they just murdered somebody in broad daylight around kids and other civilians, not less than 200 feet away from an occupied school building at a busy intersection, and all of these people are saying it wasn't self-defense? You really think that y'all that's what y'all think about us over here in Chicago? God damn. I'm like, these people for really. Hold on. Do I gotta kick somebody out? Let me see. Hold on. Wait. Mods, make sure if there's anybody in here that's saying any weird shit, because I can't find it. There's too many comments. Go ahead and kick them out for me. I'm not paying attention and not going to pay attention. So it was something else I wanted to tell y'all. It was so much that happened today. Y'all, the hearing was 4 hours. About 4. I want to say, because it started at 9:50, and I think, well, it might not have been 4 hours, but it started at 9:50, and we got up out of there at 1 o'clock. So yeah. Oh, another thing that I wanted to say is that a a lot of people kept on saying that the schoolhouse don't matter. It don't matter that the shooting happened at the schoolhouse. It does matter that it happened at a schoolhouse. In the state of Illinois, they may not be able to add a separate charge for it happening at the schoolhouse. However, the school is considered. How do we know that the school is considered? Because the judge said it today, that the school is considered. They are considering the fact that that Holly fired off multiple rounds at her victim in the vicinity of a school. So people wanted to argue with me in the beginning of this thing about, oh, she's behind the sign. Oh, the sign is right there for the school zone. She's behind it. She's not in a school zone. This is the border here. She's across. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She was too close to a school building around a whole bunch of kids. It don't matter if she in front of or behind the sign. Are you smoking dope? She within walking distance of a school with little ass kids shooting bullets. The third bullet, we don't know where that one went. That could have hit anybody. It could have hit a baby. It could have hit her baby. It could have hit anybody. You see what I'm saying? Ain't nobody about to sit up here and argue about foolishness and technicalities. The girl was close to a school, shooting off multiple rounds unnecessarily in broad daylight during rush hour around elderly people, civilians, and her child. So she's absolutely, so I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But so therefore, when the judge spoke about why he made his decision for detention, he did bring up the school. Miss Johnson, according to witnesses, she is firing off these shots by a schoolhouse, around innocent bystanders, around children, in a busy intersection, around others. That was considered. The judge didn't care whether or not she was parked in front of or behind the school sign. Okay? Also, Ari tried to lie. I forgot this part too, because I couldn't write everything down. Y'all was getting tired, and it was I wrote down what I could, and some of it is by memory. Again, if you want to verify what I'm saying, go get the transcripts. Okay, there is public information because her motion to seal was denied. So get the transcripts. Okay. Ari also tried to pull the same bullshit that they be pulling on all of these channels that support Holly. The same lie that they've been telling since September 8th. Oh my God, Romika blocked Holly in. Denied. The state showed evidence that Holly was not blocked in. Like I've been saying, the state gave the judge body cam evidence of Holly not being blocked in, photos of Holly not being blocked in. There was no mention of Carlos moving his vehicle. Another lie that they've been telling over there. There was no mention that Carlos ever moved his vehicle at any point. Carlos pulled up just like it was reported on the proffer, 2 car lengths ahead of Holly. Romika pulled up and was parked towards the back bumper of Holly's vehicle. There was significant amount of space in between Carlos' vehicle and Romika's vehicle for Holly to be able to leave. That was argued today by the state. She could have left. That was argued. She could have made a phone call. She could have called 911. That was argued. The situation, according to the state and according to the judge, because he's in agreement, was avoidable. It was avoidable. It didn't have to happen. And another thing that I noticed that really made me, caught my attention was how the state reiterated the fact that Holly, during the altercation, one of the witnesses said that Holly kept on telling Romika and saying in front of everybody, I got a license to carry. I got a license to carry. Even the state mentioned it. The state said she almost like she was bragging or saying because she had a license to carry, that gave her a right to murder her. And then not only did the state mention that she said it several times during the altercation, according to one of the witnesses, But she also said it to the police, not only at the scene, but once she was arrested. She has a license to carry, which makes the state believe, or which they could argue, that she believes that because she has a license to carry, that she has all rights to pull her trigger however and whenever she wants to. Thank you, Eugene. I appreciate it. And it just simply doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Ari said something that the judge had to correct her on. Ari said that just everybody that, you know, has a weapon, just because they have a weapon doesn't mean that they're this horrible person. And she started getting into how she was going, that Holly was getting ready to go to dental, to be a dental assistant, how she had this successful cosmetology or lash business. But the judge corrected her and said, you mean every person with the CCL isn't a bad person? Because what he was trying to do was say, yes, you know, you can't say everybody with a weapon, because the weapon must be licensed and it must be a license. So he wanted to correct her on that. But I think that Ari is arguing the same way that Holly supporters are arguing, by basically saying that Ari had a right to defend herself and she has a Second Amendment right. But what I think that Ari doesn't understand, and what I think that Holly supporters don't understand, is that most Americans believe in self-defense. Yes, I support Romika Meeks all day long, and I'm gonna ride with Romika Meeks and her family until Holly, Trigger Finger Holly, is convicted of first-degree murder, because she will be convicted of first-degree murder. Okay, so once she's convicted, I'm riding all the way. But I do believe in self-defense. That is a lie. It's misinformation. That just because you support Romika and her family and you don't agree with what Holly did, that you somehow don't believe in self-defense. That's a lie. I totally believe in self-defense. What I don't believe in is antagonizing someone, engaging in conflict, going back and forth mutually, and baiting someone into a confrontation with you so that you can have an excuse to murder them. That's what I don't agree with. And that's what she did, in my opinion. And it seems like that's what the state believes that she did. So don't say that because you support Romika, you don't believe in self-defense. I believe in self-defense wholeheartedly. But what I don't believe in is running your mouth, provoking somebody, talking big shit, and then when a day of reckoning comes where you get face to face with that person, you want to kill them because you can't stand on what you've been saying. You cannot antagonize someone as somebody. There are certain rules that you have to follow as a person that holds a concealed to carry license. And one of those rules is you're not allowed to antagonize. You're not allowed to provoke. Because how many people in the world would be dead if all of us ran out and got a concealed to carry license and then went out the day we get our license, go outside and find somebody to piss off just so we can shoot them? It don't work that way, Bookie Butt. You can't go out and get a concealed to carry, go get your weapon, and then start provoking a motherfucker. Then when they respond, you shoot their face off. That's not self-defense. And I think that might be the small detail that Holly supporters are missing. You're not allowed to do that. Too many people have reported in this story, too many witnesses have stated that Holly was the aggressor, that Carlos had to push Holly back. Okay? Too many people were reporting that the argument, the verbal altercation, was mutual. The only person that said that Romika attacked Holly was Carlos. And that is suspect. And the judge is seasoned and smart enough to know that that doesn't sound right. That the boyfriend of the defendant is the only one saying that Romika attacked her. Nobody else saw that. No one else saw that except for him. That Romika stole off Holly and she did nothing. And she just stood there and shot her. Okay? The judge is smart enough to know bullshit when he hears it. And most of us are as well. I told y'all, I've been telling y'all since I've been covering this case, that in a self-defense claim, If someone says, I shot someone in self-defense, and there are witnesses to see the shooting, they should also see the altercation. They should also have seen the fight. You cannot say that you shot someone in self-defense because you were being attacked, but nobody saw the attack, but everybody saw the shooting. Those two things have to coincide. If you shot someone because you're being attacked, the witnesses should be seeing the attack. Nobody saw the attack except for Carlos, conveniently. These people in the court systems are not dumb. They see this, they work murder cases every single day. Every time somebody's charged, 95% of those people come in and plead not guilty. Okay? Everybody defending themselves. Okay? Everybody that shoots and kills somebody for the most part, oh, I was defending myself. Oh, I'm sure you were. Now let's get down to the facts. Let's talk about the evidence, because everybody ain't defending themselves. Okay? Yes, Holly is 5'2". Yes, she 90 pounds soaking wet. Yes, her wig fat as hell, and it probably weigh more than she do, but that still don't give her ass a right to pull out a gun and shoot some damn body. Stop running your fucking mouth. You sat there and you provoked her, allegedly, according to reports, and then you killed her. You're a murderer, allegedly. Okay? It's looking like first-degree homicide, allegedly. Okay? Now, fuck what you're talking about. Fuck what they talking about. Okay? The bitch didn't have, also, she didn't, let me say this. If y'all have been hearing anybody running around YouTube or any other platform saying that Holly had her gun on her, I'm here to tell you today that's a motherfucking lie. She went to her car. She walked her little happy ass to her car. She walked her punk ass to her car after she antagonized that girl, and she got her gun out of her car, and she returned to the scene, stood on the sidewalk away from her, and shot her, according to witnesses. Not one time did I hear Ari argue that she had her gun on her person. The only place that I heard that she had the gun on her during the altercation is on social media. In the courtroom, even her attorney didn't say that she had her gun on her. Even after the state argued that she went to her car to retrieve her weapon, her attorney didn't even argue that. So I'm trying to understand where these content creators are getting their information. Because in court, nobody said that she had that gun on her. It was a known fact, and everyone agreed that she walked to her car to get that gun. I didn't hear Ari say that she had the gun on her. You want to know why she didn't argue it? Because she can't lie in court. It's a lie. She didn't have it on her. If she had a gun, if she had a 9mm, you know, first of all, when you talk about guns and hand sizes and the height and the body weights of people matters when it comes to the type of gun that you have. She's 5'2". The girl is little as fuck. She was drowning in her blue jumpsuit. Okay. This little ass girl got a 9mm. Do y'all know what that, you know the 9mm look like? I'm not talking about a 22. She got a 9mm. You mean to tell me that she had a 9mm tucked into her leggings? First of all, that's dangerous as fuck. She could shoot herself. That's number one. Why the hell would she have a 9mm tucked into her leggings? That's just common sense. You sound like a fucking idiot even saying that. Okay? No holster, because if she had a holster, it would have been taken into inventory for evidence. If she had a holster, she would have put it back in the holster after she shot her. But she didn't. She threw it in the car with her baby. Mother of the year. She threw the 9mm loaded into the car with her baby. Mother of the year. Okay? So I didn't even hear Ari argue that she had the gun on her. So whatever content y'all listen to, when y'all hear these people lie and gaslight the audience and lie and say that the girl had the gun on her, it's a lie. She didn't have a gun on her. The gun wasn't sitting on top of the car and all of this other bullshit. The gun was in the vehicle. She walked to the vehicle according to witnesses. Ari did not argue that she didn't. She got the gun out of the car. She walked to the curb, the sidewalk, the edge of the sidewalk, according to witnesses, and blasted her in the face because of words. That's who you motherfuckers are defending. A cold-blooded murderer, allegedly. And I'm only saying allegedly because I have to, not because it's needed. Because quite honestly, that's exactly what she is, allegedly. Because that's what's being reported by witnesses. Not one time did her attorney even attempt to argue the state when the state said she could have called the police. She could have left. Why she didn't get in the car and drive off? She had plenty of space. She had the phone on her on a viral video. On a viral video, after she killed her, she picked up the phone and called somebody. Why she didn't pick that same phone up and call somebody before she killed her? Why she didn't use that same phone to call 911? Ari had no defense or argument for that. Because that's true. There is several different other options that she could have taken. That cannot be argued. She could have done other things. The biggest issue here is that if the fact that she was able to walk to her vehicle to get her gun shows that she was not in imminent danger. I'm going to tell you why the TPO. Let me go back to the TPO. So the judge did acknowledge the TPO, and he did acknowledge the threats, alleged threats, because we still haven't seen any proof of it. Okay, these threats are alleged. We haven't seen any proof. Politricking in leadership, Trina got a video on her page where she's going over the court documentation. At the last hearing that Romika and Holly are actually at together, the hearing that came before July, she asked the judge, "Do you need me to bring any evidence?" I think this is the one that happened in May. Do you need me to bring any evidence in? What does that say if she asked the judge if she needed to bring any evidence? That means that she never showed any evidence. It's in black and white. It's on documentation. I wish Trina could inbox it to me. I don't know if she's in here. It's documented that at the last court date that Holly and Romika were at, Holly asked the judge on the transcript, "Do you need me to bring in any evidence?" What does that mean? That means that she never showed any evidence to get her temporary restraining order. And she never showed any evidence ever. Ever. If she did, she wouldn't have asked the judge if she needed evidence. In the last court date with her and Romika, it's on the transcript. It's on the transcript. Go. I can't remember which video Trina did, but Trina showed the transcript. Okay. On the transcript, she asked the judge, "Do you need me to bring any evidence?" I don't remember what the judge responded to her, but she asked the judge that. So for these people running around, you need evidence. Let me show y'all something real. I'm gonna show y'all the reason why. Now, the judge did not take the threats lightly. He did not dismiss the Ari about the threats. He thinks that is serious enough. However, what is the reason why that didn't matter is because in the state of Illinois, in order to murder someone legally, it has to be imminent. Meaning the threat has to be in the moment. Whatever happened 6 months ago does not constitute you killing someone on September 8th. If you threaten me in January, but I see you in June, I can't shoot you and say I was scared because you threatened me in January. Legally, it doesn't work that way. Maybe in your brain it works like that. Maybe on social media that makes sense. But that's not how it works in a court of law. The threat must be imminent. The threat must be in the moment. It must be right now. And the state argued that. The state said that was months ago. You cannot kill somebody because you're saying, and we still haven't seen the proof. Okay, but because you're saying that you got a threat, third party, my God, okay, third party, months ago, and so you say, oh, well, that gives me the authority to shoot you today. That's not how it works in the legal system. I am truly sorry, but it doesn't work like that. It don't work like that. They also made note of the fact that this was their first encounter. Ari tried to defute it by saying it wasn't their first encounter because they had a Zoom call together on a previous court day. So just child weak. Okay. So then the state was like corrected themselves and was like, okay, that was not their first encounter, but it was their first physical face-to-face encounter. Their first face-to-face encounter. There is no proof and no evidence that the threats ever even happened, you guys. Let me show you guys something really quick. I did a video on this, but I want to pull something up for you guys. Hold on. I already knew this. But you know, why not? So no, you guys, in the state of Illinois, because a lot of people are saying, well, if she got an order of protection, it had to be because she had evidence. No, it doesn't. Guys, no, that's not what that means. Just because she got an order of protection granted does not mean that she had evidence. In the state of Illinois, you do not need physical evidence to get an order granted. Your testimony could be enough, and it's really enough if the respondent does not show up in court. She didn't even come to the last two court days. She wasn't even there when the order was granted. So no, you do not need evidence in the state of Illinois to get an order of protection. Okay, so let's stop with that lie. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, thank you, Danny. Yeah, yep. They I'm looking at the comments now. They did try to say that Ari did try to play the pregnancy card a couple of times, saying that she was pregnant when she went to go get the order of protection, and saying that she is pregnant now. She started talking about how the courts don't have the proper food or nutrients and all of that in order for her to have a healthy pregnancy. And at that point, I just felt like Ari was just kind of trying to argue anything. You know what I mean? Because she didn't have anything. Because there's hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of women that are incarcerated right now that are pregnant. The courts, not the courts, I'm sorry. The jails make sure that you're given prenatal vitamins. They may not, and then the whole that she's a vegetarian lie or she's vegan or whatever. Didn't we just see her at Longhorn Steakhouse right before? Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on. I ain't gonna pull it up. But wasn't she just at Longhorn Steakhouse trying to flex and rub it in that she hadn't been arrested yet? Remember, she was like eating at Longhorn. What was she eating? It looked like a damn some chicken or something. Girl, you ain't no damn vegan. We just seen your ass in Longhorn Steakhouse. You got it posted on your YouTube channel. It's a short that you did at Longhorn where you eating meat right there. Come on with the lies, man. You ain't no damn vegan, girl. You ain't no damn vegan. You better eat that, but you better eat that choke sandwich and be glad. Be glad. Because that's about the worst that's going on for you You still alive. Hold on, let me see something. What you complaining about a dumb choke sandwich? Hold on, let me see them, y'all. Damn. Shit. Right. I mean, okay. Oh, she was eating lobster. Lobsters don't eat I'm not lobster. I mean, vegans don't eat lobster. Now that would have been funny if the state would have pulled up YouTube channel. Judge, she's on YouTube a couple of days before she took her ass into custody. They took that ass into custody. She was on YouTube eating a lobster tail. I wasn't aware that vegans ate lobster. I didn't know that vegetarians eat. Let's talk about her behavior, her body language. I want to talk about that too. Shout out to oh, thank you, Ebony. I appreciate the cash app. Let's talk about her body language. So again, she had a mask on. I couldn't see her face, so I can't speak on her facial expression. But at a certain point, she did turn around, and she was looking at her family. I don't know who she was looking for, but she turned around and she did. Don't you know one of those head nods where you be like, "What's up?" She did one of those, like, "What's up?" I don't know who she was doing it to, but that's what she did. She wasn't doing it to Carlos though, because Carlos had walked out. I don't know where he went, the bathroom or whatever. But she turned around and did like a head nod or whatever. Then she turned back around. As continued, you can tell that she looked like she was getting nervous, child. Them eyes was getting big, honey. Okay, them eyes was getting big, and she was looking at her attorney, and her attorney came and sat down. I think at a certain point they realized that she wasn't getting out. She was asking her attorney something. Obviously, I couldn't hear what she was asking. Okay, and that's about it. Okay, so now I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I'm gonna answer some of y'all questions. I already said when the next court date is. Read that. Oh, I did forget to. I'm looking through my notes because I want to make sure that I didn't hop around so much that I forgot anything. So I do want to mention that in the beginning, when Ari began to read her motion, she said something that the judge corrected her on. She said that the school is right across the street from Carlos' house. The judge corrected her and said that the school. He corrected her. In other words, he knows that his house is not across the street from the school, but rather around the corner. And I don't know if she said it like that for dramatic effect or whatever, but it's really important to be accurate, especially in a case like this. Okay, this is a murder case. That's all I got. All right. Let me look at some of my comments real quick. Let's see what y'all down here talking. I can't be able to read everything now. Thank you, Tay. What's up, corporate? I'm talking about corporate. What's up, Mika? The whole court interaction was suspicious. She sounded anxious, like she was ready to plot then. Who sounded anxious? Madhu said, I'm mad that they're allowing her to wear that mask, just like Jarvis Butts. You know, I never really got into that case. I'm not going to cover the case, but I would like to see, you know, I would like to look at it. Let me see this. Yeah, I also think that the mask is a form of her hiding. She doesn't want people to see her real emotions. I think that she's embarrassed that she's there. Anna Bree said she was under surveillance. Y'all think that she was eating steak and lobster already? That's why the judge wasn't followed for exactly. They did say that. They said that in the arrest report that they had been surveillancing her, and that can mean a number of things. Watching her and goings, looking at her social media. That's why I kept saying, remember, like I kept on saying that it's so stupid, it's so dumb that she's behaving like that on social media. And some people will argue, well, what she's doing, what is she doing? She's just posting. Well, it's the things that she's posting them to be facetious. She's posting them to try to rub it in. Like, you know that you just killed a 31-year-old mother who will never see her 6-year-old child or 7-year-old child, and then you make a post saying that you can't wait to spend all of these holidays with your child. Now, people that support her, they will pretend like that they don't see that that's clear shade. It clearly is, but they'll pretend like it's not, but it is. They see stuff like that on when they're watching you, okay, when they're surveillancing you, when you're under investigation. They surely are going to watch your social media. This is 2026, baby. It was 2025 then, but this is the age of social media, the age of technology. Surveillancing you isn't just following you around. It isn't just watching you leave out of your house and what time you come back anymore. Surveillancing you at this point in this day and age means I'm watching your social media activity too. And to see her lack of sympathy, her lack of regret, and her lack of emotion towards what she had done was a very bad look on social media. Her aunt also didn't make it any better. Now, I'm not saying that her aunt is at fault for her being where she is today, because Holly pulled the trigger, not her auntie. Holly did. But at the same time, as a family member that wants to see the best for her, the last thing that you should do when you see that she's under a murder investigation is post her OnlyFans. Now, some people might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Why in the world would you be thinking about selling Cooter Cat when you're under investigation? You don't have a worry in the world. You posting your Cooter Cat online. Now that they look at that like this girl don't give a shit. She don't give a fuck, do she? She worried about selling that Cooter Cat online. Don't have a worry in the world. I'm talking about this auntie was sharing pictures and videos, updated videos and pictures of Holly and Carlos all on her social media. Why? I'm starting to believe that she wanted her ass to go to jail. The reason that I say that is, no, you can't control who she's in a relationship with, but things look a certain way. You just killed the mother of his child. You are the other mother of his child. Do you think that it's smart? Do you think that it's intelligent to have somebody post a video of you and him, a recent photo of y'all sucking on each other's toes or whatever the fuck y'all was doing? Do you think that that's smart? It gives the illusion that you killed her for him. Dummy. Damn, are you dumb? It's like silly people. I swear I was thinking, do the auntie, what is her auntie like trying to set her up? Because that was like the dumbest shit that I had ever seen. Why would you be showing videos of the baby daddy when there's a woman that just was murdered because of a confrontation over this same man that you say you were defending yourself? But now you're posting pictures, sexual videos. When I say sexual, I mean kissing on each other, rubbing on each other, licking each other's toes. I don't know what the fuck they had going on. But why would you be posting that on social media? It's nothing funny about the situation, y'all. But just the idea how dumb it is. Why would you post that when you're under investigation for killing the other woman? Dumb. Dummy. you see, social media will have you fucked up. I'm telling you. You are so worried about trying to compete with Romika supporters or make Romika supporters feel away or have one up on Romika supporters that you're actually throwing your own niece under the bus. You so worried about a tit for tat between Holly supporters and Romika supporters that you're posting shit that is a bad look. What kind of defending are you doing for your niece? Why would you be posting a recent video of her and Carlos up when she just killed somebody over Carlos? Dummy, goofy. That's why her ass, that's one of the reasons her ass in jail, for real. She did it, and that's why she's in jail, because she did it. But also the way she carried herself after the crime was reckless. Reckless. Taking videos of going on vacation, carrying on with life, licking, getting on toes, fucking and sucking, posting OnlyFans. It's giving you don't care. It's giving you have no remorse. That's the vibe we're getting here. That's the vibe you're giving off, is you don't have no remorse. Now you thought it was funny. Now you can think it's funny in Cook County Jail, baby. Yeah. Think it's funny in Cook County Jail, baby, because you're going to be in there for a long time. You'll be there for a long. They're not going to let her out. Okay? They're not letting her out. This judge is known for giving the maximum sentence. I did my research on him. He's known for giving a maximum sentence. He sometimes will give electronic monitoring, but he's also known for giving a maximum sentence. He just gave somebody 60 years for killing an off-duty police officer. Yeah. Yep. Sure did. He's known for giving the maximum sentence. So Judge Clancy don't play that shit. I'm just letting you know. He is a, I'm not gonna say he a jerk, but he's not friendly. He's not nice. Yeah. He tried to be as nice and fair as he could in this situation, because one thing that he said is this is an unfortunate situation for everybody. You got a 31-year-old mother who her family had to bury her, and her son will never see her again. Then you got another 31-year-old woman whose child will never see her. Well, might see her, but not for a very long time. He may be damn near grown by the time she see him. And then she's pregnant again. So the whole situation all across the board is unfortunate. But what the court is not going to do is what social media will do. Social media will gaslight people. Social media will put out falsehoods. Social media will give excuses when there is no excuse. Social media will defend wrong just for the fuck of it. But the courts are not going to do that. The courts are not going to do that. So she's going to be in there for a very long time. I will be present on February 3rd, and I'm going to be present at every court date from here on out as long as I can make it, okay? So is Ari going to be asking, motioning for release? I don't know. I don't remember. Probably Sean Brown. She probably is going to ask for another. I think that Ari is probably going to put in a motion for release every damn court date, you know. And what I ain't gonna drag her, I ain't gonna dog her completely out, because what I will say about Ari though, even though because I'm gonna say this about Ari in her defense. Ari is not a bad attorney. In her defense, she's not a bad attorney in my opinion. But it's just very difficult to defend what Holly did. What Holly did so I'll even give Holly her credit. And I mean, I'll give Ari her credit because she tried. And she did sound stupid, but it's not because she's stupid, because I'm gonna say Ari is not stupid. Ari went to one of the top universities in the city of Chicago, one of the top law schools. She went to DePaul University. Baby, they ain't letting no dummies into DePaul. So she's by far not a dummy. She went to University of Chicago, Champaign-Urbana, one of the top schools in Illinois. So no, she's not dumb. I'm not saying she's a horrible attorney, because I got to keep it real. She's not a bad attorney because she tried. So I'm gonna end this. So I got to give her credit. She tried. But how can you defend what she did? She tried to do her job, and she's still trying to do her job. But defending Holly is very difficult because there's too many things that Holly could have done different. And in the state of Illinois, it's hard to defend that as self-defense. But she gave it her best shot. She was very passionate. She tried to argue from every single angle imaginable, to the point where it did start to sound ridiculous, because she was trying. I was actually sitting next to a victim advocate, And the victim advocate was like this little Hispanic lady, and she was like, she's trying to get her out. Like she said she's trying to get her out. And I was like, yeah, she's like, she's trying. But she tried. So to her credit, I do give her respect for that. She did the best that she could to argue for her client, and she did her job. And whatever she got paid, she deserved every dime of it. Because I just don't understand. I don't even know how I wouldn't know where to start to defend her if I was a defense attorney. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have known where to start, because it's just the whole case is just too many. It's too many ways to argue what she did was wrong. Okay, it just simply is. Every time you hit them from one angle, the state come at you from this angle. You try to hit them with this angle, the state push back on that angle. Also, one of the as far as her being released, one of the things that was not argued that a lot of people thought would be argued is her being a flight risk. That was never an argument. The state did not ever say that she was a flight risk. What they said was that she was a danger to the community, which she is. And that's the reason why she's detained. If you guys remember, I actually pulled up the law code, and I told you guys that Ari was incorrect in her motion. Ari said that in her motion that in order for her client to remain detained, that she would have to be a flight risk and danger to the community. And I said, Ari, that's where you fucked up at, because that's not true. I said this a couple lives ago. That's not true. Ari, you don't have to be a flight risk and a danger to your community. I told you guys that the word and or is very important in legal jargon. And when you read legal documentation, the word or is in that law code. It says that the defendant can either be a danger to the community or a flight risk. Doesn't have to be both. She scored a 2 on her assessment that she took on the documentation for reoffending. A matter of fact, I'll pull it up and show it to y'all. Let me see. Here we go. On her public safety assessment court report, she scored a 2, and this is another thing that her attorney tried to argue, was that her criminal activity scale is only a 2, and this is how they, under the new Safety Act, this is one of the things that they consider is the score that you score on your public safety assessment. So she scored a 2, which is relatively low. And her attorney said that she shouldn't have even gotten a 2 because she's never had any issues about, appearing or whatever. Under the new criminal activity scale, meaning like, are you likely to reoffend? She also scored a 2. And then obviously that's because of her current, she does have a current violent offense. However, she doesn't have any pending charges at the time of the offense. She does have a prior misdemeanor, no prior felonies, no prior violent offense convictions, no prior failure to appear in the past 2 years, no prior failure to appear older than 2 years, and prior sentence to incarceration. No. So she didn't have a prior sentence. So that was what one of the things that Ari argued, but that didn't fly. It doesn't matter because the crime was serious enough to keep her detained without that even being taken into consideration. So I told you guys the other day that a lot of times that with detention is no longer just about the safety. It's no longer just about following the Safety Act to a T anymore. Because as I told you guys, at this point, it's political. A lot of these judges have to be reelected. And when you have the backlash on you for releasing somebody that has committed such a violent offense, and then you release them and you sign off on that order for them to be released, and then they get out into the community and then they kill somebody else. No judge is willing to take that risk with their signature. Most judges are not. Very recently, this year, I believe it happened in November, there was a gentleman who was a chronic reoffender. They continued to let him out of jail. He had offenses like battery. His last name is Reed, Reed. I talked about this with you guys recently. He actually got on a Blue Line train with a bottle of gasoline, set the bottle on fire, and threw it on an innocent bystander and set her on fire. And she ended up surviving, but she had some very severe injuries and disfigurements. She saved herself by rolling around on the platform once she got off the train, rolling around. You know, they say stop, drop, and roll. And she got the fire out, but she was severely injured. The judge that actually signed off on the order so for him to be released from his previous offense received hella backlash because this was done under the new Safety Act. Why are we letting out these criminals, especially these criminals that are convicted of very violent offenses, and then we're letting out these criminals that are chronic reoffenders? Judges are starting to reconsider when it comes to things like that. And I believe Governor Pritzker is considering making some revisions to the Safety Act. Okay. And I think that is what Ari was kind of leaning on. But I think what she's not realizing is those same rules don't apply in the Safety Act to violent offenders. When I say violent offenders, I don't mean battery. You know, I'm talking about people that are charged with second-degree murder and first-degree murder. Those are the type of offenses that Safety Act is. They'll consider it to a certain extent. So that's it, y'all. I'm finna get off. I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Thank you everybody for coming in and supporting me. I appreciate y'all. I want you guys, before I get off, to continue to pray for the Meeks Blackman family, because they're still going through a lot. It's still a lot of public attention on this. The mother, the auntie, the sisters, uncles, and just the family in general is still grieving. And y'all know how it is on social media. You guys seen what's been going on social media. You still got these people running around saying the most terrible, the most horrible things about a young lady that was killed in such a way. Not only was she murdered, but not only are her supporters saying that she was murdered unjustly, but the courts are saying that she was murdered unjustly. Everybody is not wrong, you guys. The young lady did not have to lose her life that way, but she did. And now her family, they have to get on social media and they have to hear these people talk horribly about their family member. And that's unfortunate. And I'm sorry that they have to go through that. And I'm going to do my part to continue to bring awareness to this situation. As much as I can. I'm going to continue to follow it and continue to speak life into the family and continue to give my condolences in a way by covering this story the way that I am. And I pray that you guys continue to pray for the family as well. And just ignore all of the bullshit. Y'all, it is kind of triggering when you hear people talk so horrible about a deceased person. They cannot defend themselves. They can't take up for themselves. They're gone. They can't say, hey, I didn't do that. Hey, that's not what I meant by that. Hey, that's not who I really am. They don't have a voice anymore. So the family does feel like they have somewhat of a responsibility to speak up for their loved one, because the way they're being talked about is not right. Okay. But we know that that's the world that we live in. We live in a world with insensitive people. We live in a world of wicked. We live in a world of people that just don't care until it happens to them. And what I want to say is I pray that what happened to Romika doesn't happen to anybody's daughter. Even the people that are dragging Romika, I pray that never happens to your daughter. I pray that never happens to your granddaughter. I pray it never happens to your niece. I pray that they're never manipulated or in any type of triangle with a relationship where they're being manipulated, the other woman's being manipulated, and they're murdered in cold blood. I pray I pray that you never feel what the Meeks Blackman family is feeling right now. So even if you are dragging Romika, I pray that God touches your spirit and takes that dark veil off of your heart, and you can leave these people alone whose a loved one has been shot down in the middle of the street like a dog, and try to find an incy-wincy bit of human decency in yourself. Everything doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be for content. Okay, we have our platforms, we got social media, and it would be lovely to see people use it in a way to advocate for real. Okay, advocate for real. Okay, but that doesn't mean that shit gonna stop just because I'm saying that, because at the end of the day, we got people out here, and I never thought that I would see today, but we got people out here advocating for a murderer. The state of Illinois is saying that Quadeja is possibly a murderer. There's several witnesses that are saying she's a murderer. Witness number 5 came out today. There's more to come. There's more evidence to come. There's more witnesses to come. Ari still doesn't have all of the evidence. But just sit back, put your seatbelts on, and get ready for a wild ride, because a lot of stuff is going to come out during this case. Thank you for listening to me. Hit the like button for me before you guys get out of here. Make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're new here and you liked today's content. When I end the video, if you could do me a favor and hype me up, I would appreciate it. Thank you everybody that supported me monetarily by helping me get to my goal. And really, I reached far beyond my goal. So thank you so much for sending in the super chats and the super stickers. And even if you could not send anything to me monetarily, thank you for supporting me by commenting in the chat and putting positive words in there. All right, y'all. Peace.
I got a lady. Hey, name is the upper echelon. She a debater, baby. She can give it to you straight, no chaser. She got the smarts. She got the heart. She got the confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart. She got the smart. She got the heart. She got the confidence. Baby, she the upper echelon. You know you intimidated. Stupid can't play with smart.